Do you have long forgotten bad habits or addictive patterns from your past still running in your subconscious that you're entangled with quantumly that are preventing you from manifesting what you want now? Are they blocking your manifestations from happening now and you don't even remember them? This video is going to help you to see how these patterns that we develop as children and as teenagers, especially if we had any form of addiction, if we don't become aware of them, they actually block what we want to happen now from happening. I'm going to show you a few different things. One, how this has happened from my own story and my own experience, and how simply remembering them can begin to clear them. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a meditation and a clearing for some of your patterns to come up and release, so you can be manifesting in the now without being derailed and sabotaged by your past experience. So stay tuned. My name is Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we get started, I just want to let you know I'm doing free breakthrough calls. These are awesome 30-minute calls where we will go over your vision for your life, what's stopping you, and some steps you can take to finally create the life of your dreams. Now, let's begin. It's important to understand something. We tend to project our relationship with our parents and authority figures as children onto the universe. We tend to treat the universe like our mother or father, because ultimately it is, but it's not our human mother or father. So the patterns you develop to get what you want from your mother, father, or anywhere else in your life growing up are still going to be reverberating out into the universe and coming back to you until you become aware of that. And if they're unhealthy patterns, that's going to be your blueprint for manifestation until you clear it. For those of you who've seen my videos before, you probably know I was a heroin addict for a long time. For those who have not, I was a heroin addict for a long time. I was a heroin addict for about 10 years. Okay. Now, this addiction created all sorts of problems, obviously, at the time while I was an addict, right? When we get into addiction, we start to lie, we manipulate, we develop a lot of bad habits as far as like taking care of ourselves, not taking care of ourselves, lying, manipulating, etc. On a human level, it's very easy to see and understand this. But how do the patterns we develop in our subconscious mind and emotionally actually impact us in the future, even after we stop the addiction? So I have to tell a little bit of a story of how I used to get what I want when I was a junkie. Now, obviously, when you're an addict, you have attachment problems, right? Which doesn't work too well when you later want to start to manifest things, because when you have too much attachment, it tends to block what you want to come in, because some part of your energy is pushing it away. When you come from the deep places of wounding and need and desperation that often happen in addiction and lead to addiction, those patterns are really not conducive to manifesting what you want in the moment when you become more conscious of yourself and you get more into the law of attraction and creating your own reality, okay? And this is what happened to me. And as I got to the root of, my needs and my emptiness and the hole that I had within myself, that sort of spirit-like hole that all addicts have, and began to heal that, it became a lot easier for me to create some of the things that I wanted. But there have been these long-standing patterns that I've had with manifestation that were very strange, that I didn't really understand until very recently when I had this revelation. So one of the things that I did to get what I want in my addiction, because basically in my addiction the only thing I ever wanted was drugs, was I would have to often work myself up into these really desperate places in order to manifest the drugs or to manifest the money for the drugs. I was not your sort of really cool, hardcore street junkie who, figured out how to scheme every day and, had a lot of street smarts. I did that a little. I did a little stealing, which I certainly am not, proud of anymore, but I've, healed that. I did a little bit of that, but mostly I was just sort of a spoiled Jewish brat, fucking heroin addict who would get money a lot of times from my parents and my family, and I kind of would have to terrorize them to do it, which made me feel horribly guilty then, even though I wasn't conscious of it. And then in retrospect, it certainly has over the many years as I've unpacked all of this stuff. So one of the things that I had a heroin addict girlfriend at the time for about 4 years. One of the things that we would do, and this is very common for addicts, is, we would try to get money and then we couldn't. And so then we would ask our parents or her parents for money, and they would, always try to say no, because obviously, we're draining their bank account. They don't want to enable, even though they're already stuck in that habit pattern and cycle. So what a lot of times addicts have to do is they have to work themselves up into this desperate place, and it becomes very terrorizing and threatening to the family around them, or the people they're trying to get money from. One of the things we would do is we would get to the point where we would be like, okay, we're going to commit suicide. And this is it's both funny and awful. It's funny because it's just like the biggest, most victim pattern, martyrdom pattern you could ever find. It's like, fine, no, I'm going to kill myself. But it's also horrible at the time, because for a parent to listen to their kid like threaten to kill themselves, like, and bring the energy to as heightened of a stage as you possibly can, it was terrorizing and awful. But the thing, and this is one of my points, is a lot of times it would work. It would work. But what that did, like, let's look at what that did later. When I got sober and I healed and I made amends to my parents and everybody else, and then went on and decided to get into the law of attraction and create my own reality. One of the things that I noticed for many years is when I would ask the universe for something and then just kind of let go, sort of, wouldn't come. And there's a lot of reasons for this, and I've discussed it in other videos, but the primary one I want to focus on, the pattern I want to focus on in this video, is that suicidal pattern. I would actually have to get to the point where I was so desperate, I was like, I'm fucking done, universe. I'm fucking done. I'm gonna blow my fucking brains out if I don't get what I want, blah, blah, blah. It was like this huge bratty thing. And only then, when I was so over it and so ready to completely quit on a like end my life level, would things kind of come in. And I was like, why is this? I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to work myself up into this state. One of the reasons is because that was my way of getting to the point of like completely giving up and surrendering, and that you want something, you visualize it, you take action, which is a huge added part that most people don't seem to understand in law of attraction, is the action part. But that's when I would get to the surrender. But the other thing was, I had trained myself, I had trained my energy, I had trained my subconscious mind to have to get to the point of near suicide, some bratty tyrant tirade, in order to get what I wanted. And that was what I was recreating over and over and over again, until I just even recently remembered that. And I was like, oh my God, this is one of the reasons it's been so hard. Because we forget that these patterns are still in our body. We forget that these patterns and habits are in our energy system. And I have healed I healed that a long time ago. I developed so much love for myself, and I don't really need things to happen to be happy and all of that. But it still was difficult when it came to manifesting anything. And I was like, oh, because I'm still operating on that old program. I got to clear that program. Even though I've learned all the lessons, even though I've healed all the emotions, I've healed all the wounds, that still program, like, get to the point where you're done, is running in my energy field and subconscious. And now, because I've learned all the lessons, I can just be like, okay, clear it. A lot of times we kind of have to find it or have a memory. And then as we have the memory, we kind of breathe awareness into it and it dissolves. Another habit pattern that I developed from my addiction was like having to push and push and push in desperation and to rush and want something and need it so bad and try to pull it in, which obviously pushes things away. I used to be on methadone, and the methadone clinic would close at around 1 or so. And I would sleep in till like past noon. And I would wake up in this panic and go, oh my God, they're going to close and I'm not going to get there in time. And I would get in my car and fucking drive like 90 miles an hour to get to the clinic and fucking run lights. I mean, I wouldn't just run through them. I would stop and see there was no one coming and run through the fucking red light because I wasn't going to get there in time. Those habits were still present in my manifestation process. So my question to you is, what bad habits from your past, could be childhood, maybe you had a tendency to throw tantrums as a kid if you didn't get what you wanted, the universe responds to us as if it's our parent, not because that's how it works, but because that's how we think it works. And the universe is just a mirror. It's like, well, whatever you want. If this is how you think I work, then this is how I'm going to work, until you realize you need to change the pattern. So what habits and patterns do you have from your childhood, your addictions, your bad habits, that are still present in your manifestation process? And how are those blocking you? How are those emotions and belief systems and the workings of your energy still entangled in some quantum way with your past, in a way that's blocking what you want from coming in? Now what we're going to do is a little bit of a meditation and a clearing. So I want you to bring to mind any of these patterns, and you may need to go journal and just kind of meditate and relax, and they'll start to come to you. Journal and relax, and they'll start to come to you. But for now, if you have anything specific that jumps out at you, bring it to mind. If not, just give your subconscious mind permission to show you some of the root layers of what's blocking you from being able to just effortlessly align with what you want. Now, of course, it's important to understand that it's more like what your soul wants than what your ego wants, but that's for other videos. So just take a minute, breathe a little bit, calm down, come into your body, listen to the leaf blower outside, because I'm not going to film this 50 times to get around the leaf blower. I'm just going to leave the shit in. Or whatever that is. Good. Relax and give your higher self permission to show you and clear any deep-seated bad habit patterns that you developed either as a child, as a teenager. If you had an addiction, a drug addiction, we all have addictions. Maybe it's a food addiction, sex addiction, social media addiction. Any habits that you've developed that are blocking your manifestations, and clear, give permission to neutralize any of the emotions, belief systems, traumas, and just energy dynamics that go with them. Good. Any quantum entanglements that you have with your past, any timelines from your past that are imprinting on your present time reality, give your higher self permission to completely neutralize all of this. And ask to be shown the healthier, new, neutral, effortless way to call in what is in your highest good. Just notice your body a little bit, notice your feet, and just notice it releasing. And just also ask to have this awareness embodied that a lot of times we don't always have to remember everything that happened to us, but a lot of times we do have to remember like an inkling of something, because when we do, it brings it into our awareness, and awareness is what releases everything. So ask to be shown how to simply clear it by having awareness of it in the future for anything that you start to remember. Good, just take a couple deep breaths. Let it out. Good. Come back into the now, and come back to presence. Let me know how this goes. Let me know if you had any revelations around this, or if you remembered anything from before that's maybe why you're not able to manifest right now because you're sending a signal to the universe that this is how you get what you want, and it's very troublesome. And also look for all the emotions underneath. You know, like I had a lot of guilt for what I did to my parents. So anytime I would manifest anything, I would be manifesting with all this guilt in my subconscious, which is telling me, I would manifest with all this guilt in my subconscious, which is telling the universe I don't deserve it. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I have a free energy clearing if you want to download it to help you go deeper into some of this stuff. It's in the description below. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, peace.